Perhaps you are watching this video in the middle of a long evening, when the house around you is still filled with reminders of unfinished tasks, an unread inbox, toys scattered on the floor, and a kitchen light that still glows as if it has forgotten how to sleep. The schedule is packed, the pace of life is relentless, and even though you have tried to simplify time and again, the room seems to whisper a weariness that is hard to name. If our living space is a mirror reflecting our mind, what is your mind saying today? A very soft sigh or a silent cry for help? I understand that feeling. We have tried to declutter, we have tried to fold, we have tried to put things away. But perhaps what is missing is not about the number of possessions, but in the way we perceive and the rhythm in which we live. Minimalism, in a deeper sense, is not just about having less. It is about learning to soften amidst the noise, learning to accept what is not perfect, and learning to make space for silence to enter. Just as we turn off a glaring light to better see the moonlight on the porch, or put down our phone to hear our own heartbeat again, true minimalism does not take anything from you. Instead, it gives you back the most precious thing, your own presence. On this journey, 3 breaths will guide us. Wabi-Sabi, the beauty of imperfection, where scratches tell the story of a life that has been lived. Ma, the space between all things, where silence gives shape to meaning. And Shibumi, a simple and subtle elegance, a grace that needs no announcement. There will be no fixed formula, only principles as gentle as water, enough to seep into the fabric of daily life. An empty table that invites a deeper conversation, an old mug warm enough to make the morning feel less lonely, and a corner of the house quiet enough for sleep to find its way home on time. Today, we will walk through these 3 breaths together, slowly and kindly, so that your home and your soul can have a peaceful place to return to. 1. Wabi-Sabi, the art of finding beauty in the scratches of time. Imagine you are holding a simple ceramic bowl in your hands. Its glaze is softened with the years, and along the rim, a crack runs diagonally like a skipped breath. It is no longer new, not smooth, not radiant in the way social media celebrates, and yet, someone patiently sat for hours, using lacquer and a golden powder as fine as dust motes in the sun to slowly fill that crack. The resulting golden seams do not hide the damage, but instead highlight where it was once broken, like a gentle streak of light is across the quiet glaze. If you were to place that bowl in a silent room with just a single candle, you would see that it does not fade into the darkness. Its delicate golden lines would softly gleam, telling a story of clumsiness and shattering, of the hands that carefully gathered each piece, and of a deep respect for time. Kintsugi is not just a repair technique, it is a quiet declaration that breakage is also a worthy chapter of life, that after being broken, things can become more beautiful and people more profound. Now, let's turn the lens toward our own homes, where we sometimes find ourselves breathless amidst endless to-do lists and glossy photos that demand perfection. We repaint a wall because of a tiny scratch, discard a wooden chair just because it wobbles slightly, replace an old rug simply because its colors have faded with the sun and rain. We tell the stories of our lives through carefully edited pictures, hiding the fatigue, the sleepless nights, and the moments of weakness. But if we tried to see differently, the way Kintsugi sees a crack, we would realize that chipped ceramic mug has met our lips through countless mornings. That faded rug has absorbed both laughter and tears. The floorboard that creaks every time we come home late is a sign that this house has truly been lived in, not just decorated. Those scratches, chips, and broken corners can be the low notes in a long piece of music, helping the high notes sound even clearer. An old legend tells of a general who, when his prized tea bowl broke, did not discard it. Instead, he sent it to artisans to be mended with gold. From that, a new worldview was born. Beauty does not lie in flawless perfection, but in the courage of things and people to bring the marks of time into the light. Wabi-Sabi concludes with a gentle smile. Let us stop chasing the sleekness of the new and try to trust in the warmth of what is old. At a deeper level, Wabi-Sabi is the slow breath of nature itself. Wabi is simplicity, humility. It is the way we choose less in order to hear more. Sabi is the beauty that comes with age, like the green patina on bronze, the darkened wood around a doorknob, or a linen cloth that is wrinkled yet surprisingly soft. When these two words blend together, they invite us to leave behind the obsession with symmetry, to escape the fear of aging, and to learn to see the beauty in impermanence. Like a maple leaf that turns red, then falls, and it is the very moment of its falling that makes one hold their breath. Wabi-Sabi does not ask us to praise decay. It simply places a hand on our shoulder and whispers that decay is part of the rhythm of life, and for that very reason, it deserves to be cherished. From the home, the spirit of Wabi-Sabi extends into our inner world. We too have our own cracks, the failure we dare not speak of, the breakup that made the nights longer, or a youthful mistake that still returns from time to time. We try to hide them, to polish them, to pretend we are fine, just as we might place a vase to cover a stain on the wall. But there comes a time when the effort to smooth over every rough edge only leaves our minds exhausted. If we could mend these cracks with the gold of self-kindness, by waking up 10 minutes earlier just to breathe, by sticking a small note on the mirror that says it is okay, or by calling an old friend to admit that we are tired, we would see that the crack is still there, but it is no longer a source of shame. It has become a golden thread in the tapestry of a life that is growing in understanding. Bringing Wabi-Sabi into your living space does not require shopping or replacing. On the contrary, it is the art of returning. Try picking up an item you are about to discard and ask it softly, "What have you been through with me?" Perhaps it is the wooden table with a scratched surface where your child learned to write their first letters. Perhaps it is the faded curtain that still sways with the summer breeze. If the item is still usable, keep it and care for it in a way that makes you smile each time you touch it. Use sandpaper to smooth a rough corner, sew a prominent visible stitch on an old shirt, or wipe a layer of oil onto the wood grain to awaken its warm scent. Repair, when displayed with reverence, not concealment, becomes an affirmation that this home knows how to love. When you declutter, do not let the thought of expensive or cheap guide you. Let the meaning and life of the object speak. An ordinary item that has weathered a storm with you can be more precious than a luxury item sitting untouched in a box. Put away the things meant only for display and make room for objects with soul. A slightly misshapen, hand-thrown ceramic vase, a stone picked up from a stream bank, a book with a worn-out spine. Be gentler with your arrangements. Do not force everything into perfect straight lines. Let a chair be slightly askew, a picture hung half a hand's breadth lower to meet your gaze when you are seated. Let light flow slowly through the home, a thin curtain, a warm table lamp, and let darkness also be respected as a material. In it, rough-hewn surfaces will tell their own stories. One day you will realize your room is quiet, not because it is empty, but because everything present within it has been chosen with a kind of warmth. And that very atmosphere will seep back into the rhythm of your life. You will hurry less, compare less, and feel less of a need to reinvent yourself according to someone else's schedule. You will begin to hear the whispers of the wood grain, the linen, the ceramic glaze, and be surprised to find they are healing you with the language of time. If you are standing in the middle of a room that is still cluttered, do not be too hard on yourself. Choose one small corner and begin with a single, kind gesture. Wipe clean the surface of an old table, place upon it the book you are halfway through, a cracked ceramic bowl, and a single leafy branch just gathered from the porch. Do not try to make everything beautiful at once. Let things be as they are, authentically. As each day passes, touch your belongings as you would touch a memory, asking them how they wish to stay, or when they wish to leave. And if an item has fulfilled its purpose, thank it and let it go gently, like a maple leaf leaving the branch when its season comes. Wabi-Sabi does not teach us to surrender to decay. It invites us to participate in the process of aging with gratitude. When we learn to see cracks as golden seams, we are also learning to see ourselves with a kinder eye. The home then becomes a large kintsugi bowl where the pieces of our lives are mended together in a warm stillness, so that every morning when we step out the door, we carry within us something simple yet enduring, that we are enough, and that in itself is beautiful. 2. Ma, when emptiness speaks. Try stepping into a room where the light is not loud, but is sifted thinly through a layer of translucent paper, falling onto the floor like a breath. Everything here seems to take a step back so that you can step forward. A soft mat invites your feet. A low table in the center of the room holds just enough focus, and a corner of the wall is reserved for a single flower branch at the peak of its season. Nothing is competing to be heard. It is the silence itself that tells the story. You can hear your own heartbeat instead of the clatter of objects, hear the thin breeze passing through the window frame. The empty space does not appear as a lack, but as the necessary resonance of a musical note for the melody to be complete. There, the mind is no longer pulled away, like a boat that has left a noisy harbor and drifted into a wide stretch of river where the calm water mirrors the clouds in the sky. Then, imagine returning to your own familiar living room, where large chairs are covered in pillows, bookshelves are filled with mementos, and the walls are crowded with pictures. Cozy, perhaps, but also heavy. Your eyes barely have time to rest on a lamp before they are pulled away by a mirror. You are thinking of something gentle when a wedding photo smiles, a potted plant waves, and sparkling accessories constantly tap at your concentration. There is no pause for your inner narrative to unfold, because every centimeter of space is saying, "Look at me." We have unconsciously equated fullness with fulfillment, compensated for anxiety with possessions, and turned our homes into a dense newsfeed with no period for the reader to catch a breath. Ma arrives as a soft suggestion. Try having less, not out of dislike, but so that what remains can find its own voice. From the ancient Zen temples, the Japanese knew that a bare wall could be the backdrop for a poem, a wide mat could be the stage for a small movement, and a deep enough shadow could make a single candle flame burn brighter. Ma speaks of the gap, the interval, the in-between. The space between two pillars, the time between two breaths, the silence between two sentences. All are where meaning is formed. When we reduce the noise, the remaining sound becomes clearer. When we pause our hands, the next movement gains weight. When we place an object in an empty area, its form reveals itself without fanfare. It is like arranging a single flower in a spacious vase. The empty part is not a waste, but the very atmosphere that nurtures the curve of the petals, the necessary distance for us to perceive the fragility of life. Ma is also the art of flow. A room that is too cluttered will cause energy to become trapped like a blocked river, while a room that knows where to recede will let the wind pass through, let the light visit, and let the people inside find their way naturally. It does not mechanically follow the principle of less is more. Instead, it asks, is there enough of a break for the eyes? Is there enough quiet for the heart? Is there enough of a pause between work and self for us to realize we are tired? And when the answer is yes, you will find the rhythm of your life gradually changing. Phone calls become less hurried, dinner slows by half a beat, and sleep arrives without being coaxed by a phone screen. Bringing Ma into the home begins by negotiating with density. Try pulling a chair a hand's breadth away from the wall, so the space behind it can also breathe. Move the table slightly off-center to make the walkway less abrupt. Return the tabletop to a state of emptiness so a new day can begin. And reserve a patch of wall for nothing at all, a place for the eyes to rest. When arranging, do not ask, "What else can I put here?" Instead, ask, "What can I remove so that what is left is honored?" A solitary vase on a tabletop is not lonely. It is the necessary rest that allows the next note to resonate. A bookshelf with an empty shelf is not incomplete. It is an invitation to the future, a space for books to come, a void that helps memories find their way back. Materials and light can also become allies of Ma. Wood retains its living grain, fabric allows for natural folds, and translucent paper receives the morning light like early dew. Light should not shine directly into the eyes, but should glance across surfaces, letting shadows tell the rest of the story. A small table lamp can replace 3 harsh overhead lights. A slightly ajar door can be more beautiful than a heavy, drawn curtain. Let darkness have its place as an aesthetic element. In darkness, lines soften, and attention returns to one's own rhythm. Ma does not stop at interior design. It also seeps into your schedule. An empty time slot in the week, not hastily filled with some important task, is the pause that nourishes all the other hours. 15 minutes between meetings to take a walk, 5 minutes before bed to turn off all screens, a plan-free Sunday afternoon to allow for a visit from healthy boredom. These in-between moments help the mind digest experiences, just as the white space between chapters in a book helps the words to settle. As in a conversation, silence is not a mistake. It is where we hear what the other person has not yet said, and hear what we ourselves truly mean to say. If you are afraid of emptiness, that is natural. We are so accustomed to filling space as a reflex against loneliness. But when empty space is arranged with affection, it is no longer a meaningless void. It becomes a cradle for presence. In a bedroom with only a bed, light curtains, and a small chair, you might sleep more deeply. In a kitchen with a clear countertop, you might suddenly want to cook a slow meal. In a living room with an open view, conversations might have pauses that make the next words more profound. Ma creates the conditions for quality to emerge, like a stagehand who sets the scene and then recedes into the shadows, allowing the main actor, which is everyday life, to stand in the spotlight. Start small. Clear one shelf and leave it empty for a week to observe how you feel. Draw the curtains to let the light paint shapes on the floor. Place a cushion by the window as a place for purposeless sitting. And write a white space into your calendar, treating it as seriously as an appointment. You will find that the change is not loud, but spreads like the scent of warm tea, gentle, persistent, and arriving at just the right time. The mind does not need more, it needs an empty space. The home does not need to show off, it needs to breathe. And when both have that breathing room, the tone of an ordinary day becomes clearer, softer, as if you have just found your true heartbeat in a world that always wants to speed up. Ultimately, Ma is a lesson in sufficiency. Between too little and too much, there is a subtle region where meaning is revealed. Between work and rest, there is a preparatory rhythm that makes action graceful. Between speaking and silence, there is a space for listening, where we realize what is most important. When we learn to arrange these in-between spaces with respect, the home becomes a gentle map for a life that is no longer tangled. And it is in that seemingly empty space that we find what we have been searching for all along, a sense of peace that has form, has warmth, and has a place to return to. 3. Shibumi, when subtlety needs no voice. In the sleepy quiet of an early morning, before the day has found its noise, we witness a small ritual. Water, just brought to a boil, is whisked into a bowl of green tea powder with a bamboo whisk, making a sound like wind gliding over a lake. The tea master is unhurried, their calm hands setting things down and lifting them up, each gesture as if polished by time until not a single excess angle remains. There is nothing to show off, nothing that demands a glance. It is the very absence of splendor that allows beauty to take form. The guest enters, bowing low through a small doorway, as if leaving behind any unnamed ego outside. They pass the tea bowl to one another in a way that is wordless yet full of meaning, like a piece of music made of just enough notes, where the silence carries the most delicate weight. In that moment, Shibumi gently touches us, an elegance that needs no ornament, a perfection that seems effortless, a beauty that knows to stop just before it becomes loud. If Wabi-Sabi teaches us to embrace our cracks and Ma teaches us to respect empty space, then Shibumi invites us to step further into the land of ripeness, where less is not just less, but just right, where simplicity is not about cutting things away into poverty, but about settling down so that the essence can rise to the surface. The woodworker does not show off a sharp chisel mark. The potter does not boast of a glossy glaze. They simply let the material be itself in a form that is graceful, pleasing to the eye, to the hand, and to the heart. It is like the clean, astringent taste of green tea. At first it may seem faint, but its aftertaste stays with you all morning, making everything else suddenly feel noisy. Shibumi is that aftertaste. When we leave a room arranged in this spirit, what remains in our heart is not the image of beautiful objects, but a hard-to-name feeling of quiet reassurance. On a philosophical level, Shibumi does not like to speak loudly. It stands between simplicity and complexity, like a string pulled with just enough tension. Too loose and it falls apart. Too tight and it becomes jarring. It is an invisible balance, a kind of natural mastery that comes from long-term labor and attention. When an artisan has repeated the same motion thousands of times, what is left is not a skill to be flaunted, but a presence. Their movements flow like water, stop precisely on a breath, and are as graceful as an unforced smile. Shibumi therefore carries a humble quality. It does not seek recognition, does not need plaques on the wall, and does not demand to be explained. It simply exists peacefully for those who are quiet enough to notice. In modern life, where brands and metrics of success are often in bold print, Shibumi is the art of taking half a step back. Stepping back to yield the spotlight to the material, to the function, to the feeling of a touch. Stepping back so the external noise falls away, allowing us to hear the voice from within. A wooden chair with a low back that perfectly supports the spine, a smooth tabletop that needs no elaborate cloth, a wall painted in an elegant color that enhances everything else. All of these stand on the side of just enough. And within that sufficiency, there is a quiet pride. I do not need anything more to prove myself, because the quality has already spoken for itself. Bringing Shibumi into the home is not a drastic overhaul. It is learning to choose with a discerning yet gentle hand. Let your hands be the judge. Hold a ceramic mug to feel how its warmth spreads. Press the soles of your feet onto the wood grain to feel the material's breath. Pull a linen curtain and listen to its very faint rustle. If the sensation of touch calms you, that is a sign of Shibumi. Let your eyes be the measure. Is this color whispering or is it shouting? Are these surfaces conversing or are they arguing with each other? Are these lines guiding you or are they tripping you up? And let the rhythm of your life be the final metric. Does this object serve a daily action in a more pleasing way? Does it make you want to live 5 minutes more slowly? Does it make turning off your phone earlier feel natural? You can start in the living room with a simple trio, a sofa with a clean silhouette, a low table with sturdy legs, and a table lamp with a warm glow. The space in between is left empty, not due to a lack of budget, but to allow meaning to settle. On the table, only one object deserves to remain, perhaps a rough ceramic vase with a single green branch, or a book you are in the middle of reading with a perfectly worn spine. On the shelf, remove a row of decorations to create breathing room for light to pass through. In the kitchen, a sharp knife, a clean wooden cutting board, and a few familiar bowls. That kind of simple readiness will inspire you to cook simple dishes with deeper attention. In the bedroom, a set of breathable bed linens, 2 perfectly sized pillows, a soft muted wall color, not to look minimalist according to some template, but to allow sleep to return to its original form, warm enough and quiet enough. Shibumi also teaches us to arrange our time as we arrange our belongings. There are primary tasks, background tasks, and pauses. A morning without scrolling through social media before making tea, a fixed time to thoroughly clean the kitchen, a habit of folding the blanket right after getting out of bed. These small, repeated actions, performed with mindfulness, will turn an ordinary day into a ritual. When ritual is nurtured by attention, you will see that effortless perfection is real. You do not need to strain to be beautiful, you do not need to struggle to be tidy, and you do not need to race to find peace. Everything seems to fall into its right place after you have patiently created a frame for it. At some point, you will look around and realize that the beauty no longer calls for you to look at it. Instead, it invites you to live with it. The chair invites you to sit up straight without feeling forced. The table invites you to put down your notebook and write a few lines. The window invites you to silently watch the clouds change shape. Harmony comes not from quantity, but from being just right. The right pitch, the right shade, the right density. And in that just rightness, your mind feels like it has landed. You stop comparing your home to others, stop measuring today against yesterday. You only hear the sound of water boiling, the soft clink of a spoon against a cup, and the evening slowly descending. Shibumi pours a new layer of meaning into each day. Elegance is not a goal to be achieved, but the result of living considerately with your space, with your objects, and with yourself. From Wabi-Sabi, we learn to cherish the marks of time. From Ma, we learn to let emptiness be our guide. And with Shibumi, we learn to refine everything to the point of silence. When these 3 currents meet, the home is no longer a backdrop for life, but becomes a gentle teacher, of few words but full of insights, with little formality but rich in quality, less elaborate but with a deep, lasting flavor. And then, each morning, as you lift the tea bowl to your lips, perhaps you will see that you too have changed. Not loud, not for show, just calm and profound. A very quiet elegance, enough to nurture peace for the entire day ahead. A home does not need to be perfect to bring you peace. It only needs to have space for the light to pass through, for the wind to breathe, and for your own heartbeat to pause for a moment. When we close the door on a long day, what remains is not the number of things we have gotten rid of, but a silence wide enough to hear the whispers of our own heart. There will be evenings when you realize that all that is left on the table is a warm mug, a deep breath, and the feeling of being held by something very small yet enduring. If you listen a little longer, you will notice those 3 breaths weaving together like a melody, accepting the marks of time, respecting the space between all things, and choosing for yourself a subtlety that knows when to stop before it becomes loud. This journey is not about fixing you or correcting your home, but about gently untying the invisible knots that have bound us to a hurried pace of life. To clear a corner of your home is also to clear a thought. To place an object back in its rightful place is also to return a part of your mind to its rightful position, a place of sufficiency and peace. And then, like all gentle rituals, we do not need many words. We only need to ask ourselves a very quiet question. What is calling my name right now? The beauty of imperfection, the space that nurtures meaning, or a simple elegance. If you wish, leave a message in the comments section below, the way one might place a small pebble on a path, so that those who come after know they are not alone. And if you feel this journey is worth continuing, please stay with me. Next time, we will take another breath together. When peace is a journey, every return is a chance to find that your home has grown a little larger.